Hi and welcome. In this video I'm going to be covering an in-depth kind of deal on subnetting. I'm going to try to attempt to subnet a class C IP address with the scenario. This is an easy subject for me. This is the second time I've had to make this because I went over YouTube's stupid time limit. So I'm just going to bust right into it. Hopefully you guys understand what I'm doing. If I'm not doing something right, if I word something wrong, let me know in a comment or something. So the IP address I'm going to start out with is 192.168.1.0. And so what I'm going to have is I want a network with 5 subnets on it. 4, 5. And I want to have 30 hosts on each subnet. Okay, and when you start subnetting, you're actually borrowing bits from the subnet mask. So for this, our subnet mask would be 255.255.255. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up into 8 bits on the last portion because each octet is 8 bits, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. People have different methods of doing this. This is one method that I found really useful. But there's more than one way of doing something. So in order for us to figure out how many bits we would need to borrow to get 30, we can use the formula of 2 to the n power minus 2. And if you do this right, it should come out, n should equal 5. So 2 to the n power, or 2 to the 5th power rather, minus 2, that comes out to be 32 minus 2 gives us 30. So we found out that in order for us to get 30 hosts, we have to borrow 5 bits from this portion of the subnet mask right here. So we can count out 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Split that. And this would be our formula that we use. 2 to the 5th power minus 2 equals 30. And then we can take what was left over on this section here, because this is the section where we borrowed. This is the section where that's left over. We can use the same formula. 2 to the 3rd power minus 2 gives us 6. And this is the available subnets, I want to say. Let's see. So now that we know that, we can start to build the broadcast IDs, the IPs, and the hosts. So I'll start out and I'll write subnet 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to do this in increments of 32 to find out okay, let's see. So the IP address and the host and all that. So we'll go, when we always start out with 0, so we get 0, 32, and then 32, I'm not good with math here, so 32 plus 32 is 64. 64 and 32, 4 plus 32 is 96. And 96, 32, 96 plus 32 equals 128. And whatever number is before this number is going to be our broadcast ID. BC ID. Broadcast ID. So so 127 is going to be here for subnet 4. So subnet 4, the host portion, or the IP, the network IP would be, this range would be 97 to 126. This portion would be, okay, 64. So this would be 63. And the IP portion would be 33 to 62. And then, let's see. So 64 and 63. So this would be 96, 95 would be the broadcast ID for subnet 3. And then the range for this would be 65 to 94. I could be doing this wrong. If I miss something, let me know. This would be 0, and I believe this would be 31 for the broadcast ID. So the range for this would be 1 to 30. Yeah, that looks right. And then the broadcast ID for subnet 5, 128, and we only have 5 subnets here, so you don't have to write this down, but I do to keep track. So 128 plus 32. If we had 6 subnets, that'd be 160, but I'll just write that down so I know. So the broadcast ID would be 159 for subnet 5, and our range would be 129 to 158. And you can't use the first and last numbers because that's the IP that, or the that we already used in the network portion of our last IP address up there. And then, so like for our first subnet, the range, our IP would be 1 to 30, second one would be 33 to 62. So on the first one we could have an IP address of 192.168.1. You know, anywhere from 1 to 30, so that could be .29, .28, whatever, and so on and so forth. Now, in order to figure out the subnet mask for each of these hosts, we can take the number of bits that was left over, which would be 128.64. Okay, so this would be 1, 2, 4. 4 to the second power is 16. 16 to the second power is 32. 32 to the second power is 64. 64 to the second power is, let's see, 64 times 2. 120. I did something wrong here. 1, 2 to the second power is 4. 4 to the second power is 16. 32, 64. 64. Okay, so 1 to the second power is 1, 2, 4, 16, 32, 64. 4 to the second power is, I'm not sure what I did wrong there. 1, 2, 3. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is, whoops, I see what I did there. It should be 8, 16. 16 times 2 is 32. 32 times 2 equals 64. 64 times 2 is 128. Okay, I'm not sure what I did there. So 1, 2, 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. 64. 128. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what I did with the first one. So if we split those up, we get 128 plus 64 plus 32. Add those all together and we get 8, 19, 11, 12, 13, 14, 7, 8, 19, 11, and 1 and 1 is 2. Wait, 19, 11, 12. Okay, so 2, this should be This should be 224. I'm not sure why I got 214, but whatever. So our new subnet mask would be 255.255.224 or whatever. I think I did that wrong, but whatever this number comes out to be should be this number right here. And that concludes my video. Hopefully I don't have to remake this. Again, this is a bit hazy for me as far as the subject matter concerns. But hopefully I did this right.